Turning to cricket now on the SportsMax zone. West Indies went down to Australia in a thrilling first T20 early on Wednesday at the Carrara Oval in Queensland. The Windies put up 145 for 9 after being put into bat, with Kyle Mayers top scoring with 39 and Odean Smith adding 27. Josh Hazlewood was the pick of the bowlers with 3 for 35. Skipper Aaron Finch then led the home team's pursuit of 146 with 58, while Matthew Wade contributed 39. Alzarri Joseph and Sheldon Cottrell both had 2 wickets. Gerard Morrisili has the recap.
Series against New Zealand.
West Indies having first crack against Australia on the first of 2 T20s. Kyle Mayers getting off the mark with a boundary. Johnson Charles was first to go, cleaned up by Josh Hazlewood for 3. Bigger boundaries in Australia, a greater challenge for the Windies 6-hitters, but no problems for Mayers. The left-hander showing his strength, sending this one into the second tier of the stands.
That's going into the second tier.
Brandon King joined the party, beautifully striking this Adam Zampa delivery for 6. But he fell in the nets over. LBW by Hazlewood, the score 48 for 2 at that stage. Mayers top scored with 39, including 5 fours and 1 6. But Pat Cummins neutralized the threat, removing the Bajan in the 10th over.
Cummins get his first tonight.
The Windies struggled to hit boundaries, having to wait from over 6 to 15 for Jason Holder to produce this 6. Odean Smith was the only other Windies batsman to reach the 20s. The Jamaican added 27 of 17 deliveries, including 3 fours and a 6.
Absolutely smoked.
West Indies finishing their 20 overs on 145 for 9.
And they go for it. Oh, well done.
Australia had a shaky start to their run chase, with Sheldon Cottrell picking up 2 crucial early wickets.
Good choice.
Debutant Yannick Carrier got his first T20 wicket, removing Glenn Maxwell for a duck. But skipper Aaron Finch stabilised the innings.
Beautifully done.
He and Matthew Wade put on a 6-wicket partnership of 69.
123 Ks. It's not going to get.
Finch had a top score of 58, reaching his half-century in the 16th over. The Aussies needed 11 runs off the final over, and the Windies aided them, dropping 2 catches. First, Raymond Reefer.
Hang on. Is this the wicket? They need it, and they drop it. No way.
And then Kyle Mayers.
Slow ball again. This should be taken, surely.
Australia eventually reaching 146 for 7 to win by 3 wickets with 1 ball to spare.
Back to the keeper. Oh, nearly a shirt front. It gets over the line.
Let's hear from skipper Nicholas Pooran.
Yeah, definitely tough coming out in the losing end, but defending obviously 146. We had a chance to win the game. Obviously, we messed it up, but that's a game. We obviously try to learn and get better.
Yeah, what is the feeling amongst the group right now?
I guess the guys are disappointed at the moment, but again, it's a self-belief. Defending at such a low total here in Australia. Going out there, I'm happy the way the guys came out and fought. Getting wickets, having Australia 54 for 5. We take that any day. But again, the important moments in the game, we didn't capitalize. Obviously, we paid the price. Finchy and really batted really well there. But in saying that, catches win matches, and obviously we paid the price again.
Let's welcome now Fazeer Mohammed. Good afternoon, Faz.
Good evening, Mariah. Good to be on the show once again.
Hope everything is well with you. What did you make, though, of the Windies' batting effort early this morning?
I think generally, by the way, all is well with me, but the weather was steady rain, continuous rain, lots of flooding in different parts of Trinidad and Tobago. But getting back to your question, I think the West Indies looked a team that really hadn't settled properly, because you saw some poor shots, you saw some excellent shots, of course, which always will attract a lot of attention. That massive 6 from Kyle Mayers over extra cover. He was timing the ball well. We saw a few other good shots along the way. But in the end, you really didn't see that level of comfort at the crease. And indeed, looking at that dismissal of Johnson Charles, that was a poor shot. He really never took the time to settle down. The dismissal by Brandon King, as we saw in the replays, he should have reviewed it and it would have gone over the top and he would have been reprieved. So there are lots of things that happen in the course of a T20 innings. When you look at it again, you say, well, maybe you shouldn't play that shot, but then when it comes off, you praise it as a fantastic effort. But I think overall, the West Indies was subpar with that total. They would have known that. And in the end, you're seeing a team that is still not, by any stretch of the imagination, anywhere close to feeling totally comfortable with where they are. They got a total that they were able to fight and came very, very close to actually defending. But in the end, there's quite some work to do in the batting department.
Yeah, and that choice of word, Faz, fight, do you get the sense or do you agree that the Windies, their failure to take simple catches costed them the match today?
Well, if you look at the last over, yes, it did, with those couple of catches to Rifa and Mayers. And at the end of it all, we could say, well, okay, that cost the West Indies the match. The Australians will look at 3 catches that they put down, which they would have probably expected to hold any other time, 9 times out of 10. So all in all, it was a pretty untidy match on both sides. The West Indies, most of those players just arrived in Australia. And yes, some is making excuses. These are international players. You've got to learn to deal with these realities. If it was T20 franchise somewhere, we wouldn't be saying anything about it. But the reality is it takes a toll. Such long traveling, and then almost the next day, your interaction against the World T20 champions, let's not forget. So the mistakes are not to be excused, and therefore we'd like to see in the next match coming up on Friday, a much more concerted effort, much more disciplined in the field, much more aware with the bat, because I thought the bowlers did a pretty good job. Yannick Carrier, I think, exceeded expectations in the 4 overs that he bowled. So a lot to be encouraged by, but at the end of the day, the West Indies lost again, and that's important to acknowledge. But certainly, they have to build on this going into the next match.
Yes, fans, and given the fact that the Aussies are considered one of the favourites to win the T20 World Cup, especially that they are home, the fact that the West Indies almost beat them, and to be quite honest, gave the game to them, how much should we read into this as far as the West Indies are with regard to their chances of performing well at the World Cup?
I expect the West Indies to qualify out of the group that they're in with Scotland, Zimbabwe, and of course Ireland. But I still think it's going to be very difficult for the West Indies to make the semi-finals. It's not that I'm saying that this match was an irrelevance, but again, Australia is Australia. They rise to the big occasion. And they have their own issues that they're sorting out. I think it's confused everybody in the Australian setup as to what Cameron Green is doing in their team, because he's not part of their World Cup squad. The speculation is that they're hoping that somebody breaks down, that somebody gets either a real injury or a pretend one that they could get away with to get Cameron Green in the team. So that's an interesting one. So their team is also a bit unsettled, not entirely unsettled, but again, I would not necessarily say that this automatically means if the West Indies could push the defending champions so hard that they are going to really challenge for the title as well.
Interesting what you said there, Faz, about Cameron Green, because there are some West Indies fans who are hoping that someone gets injured and Fabian Allen gets to Australia.
Well, you get all these things coming up, you know. For example, is it a blessing that Shamar Brooks is now in Australia with the form that he showed in the last couple of matches of the CPL? And then you'll always get these. When you're a selector, it's what they call basically hiding to nothing. You are essentially going to be pilloried at some point or the other, because you're never going to please everybody all the time. Even when you win, even when you get it right, they'll be nitpicking about different elements. So yeah, that point about Fabian Allen and getting another opportunity. The fact is the 15 would have been selected. There are clearly some issues there for different reasons, for different individuals. We just have to see how they fare.
Yeah, and quickly, Faz, we accept that the Aussies are going to be among the favourites here, but although they are world champions in T20, their T20 game isn't that hot, Faz, to be honest. I think they're ranked about 6th in the world at the moment, and head-to-head, the West Indies have beaten them more times than they have won against the West Indies in T20 internationals. So, are we overplaying Australia's strength going into this tournament?
I think you're right about their overall form when it comes to a World T20, but I think they were acutely aware of that going into last year's tournament because, as we all know, whatever it is, Australians don't like to lose. And therefore, the fact that they've had this poor record in World T20s, going back to the first one in 2007, they famously lost to Zimbabwe in that tournament, is something that they needed to rectify. And I just get the sense that yes, they're a bit rusty. Aaron Finch has just been dropped as their one-day captain, but he showed his form once again in the T20s. They may not be the perfect outfit when it comes to winning a World T20 title, but their sheer competitiveness, their sheer will to win invariably puts them in the reckoning when it comes down to the business end of any tournament, and I don't expect it to be any different this time around.
Yes, Faz, let's hope the next time we talk, we'll be talking about a winning Windies result. I want to thank you so much for your time.
Always a pleasure. Take care.
Fazeer Mohammed there, our international cricket commentator. Well, the West Indies women were also on the losing end of a close encounter against New Zealand at North Sound in Antigua and Barbuda earlier on Monday. Batting first, the Kiwis posted 111 for 4 with Amelia Kerr blasting 49. Afi Fletcher was the best Windies bowler with 2 for 16. West Indies then forced the match to a super over after ending their 20 on 111 for 9. Shadeen Nation scored 23, while Sophie Devine claimed 3 for 29. New Zealand then easily chased 15 runs set by the Windies in the super over, ending on 18 without losing a wicket. So George and Lance, we spoke about the Windies men. We're moving across to the women now. And there seems to be a pattern, you know. Same losing results, same problems with the bat, you know, not enough effort in the outfield. George?
Yeah. I've been bothered by the low scores of the Windies. You look at 111 and you felt that score was decent, and 111 is not a decent score in T20 cricket. I continue to have serious concerns about the throughput of the talent, and I just think that we're at a critical moment where the women's cricket is concerned. If we don't take care of it in the right way, which is make the conditions, make it fertile for more players to come through and feel they're in an enabling environment, I fear for what will happen to us in the next year or two. And I'm not talking 5 or 10 year cycle. I'm just looking because Dottin is gone. I get the impression that, you know, Taylor is there not there in body only because she's a professional, but, you know, Haley has a tough task on her hands, and, you know, I'm looking at the scores and the performances, and there's not much to be impressed by, to be fair.
Yeah.
The only thing I would take from this, though, George and Mariah, is that New Zealand is one of the best teams in the world. And even though they have won 3 of the matches in the series so far and are now on a winning 3-1 lead, they won one of the matches with just 1 ball to spare. Today's match ended in a tie. They won it in a super over. So while the West Indies need to do better in the win column, I am encouraged by how they're playing against New Zealand, because I think New Zealand are a very strong team. And the fact that they are running them so close, I think is encouraging. Having seen Dottin leave, which, you know, we all accept as a huge blow to the West Indies team and the strength of it, I think there are signs in this team that they can improve.
I keep saying the same thing over and over. You see effort with the ball. I mean, they restrict New Zealand today to 111, but it's with the bat we have the problem. Shadeen Nation, the only person top scoring, and when I talk about a top score, it's 23. You know, with the bat we need to do better, and I think it would be an easier task where winning is concerned.
On tour, when a superior team plays against a smaller team, you don't see a huge disparity in the performances. Perhaps if this series were played in New Zealand, then New Zealand would be motivated. So the point of New Zealand being a top team it can't be disputed. But I'm just saying that I don't think that the New Zealanders think they have to be at their very best to beat this West Indies team.
Yeah, understand.
I want to say that it's disappointing, though, that having scored 15 runs in the super over, they weren't able to defend it. In women's cricket, 15 runs in a super over looks winnable, and it wasn't today.
All right, team, let's take a quick break and come right back.